Welcome to my creative space. Thank you so much for being here. Please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And for today's video, I have 5 Christmas DIYs that I'm so excited to share with you. So without further ado, let's get started. For this DIY, I will be using 2 bags of the wooden beads and this rope that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start running them through the cord until I am completed. Now that I have all of them in the rope, I'm going to spray paint them white. Once my garland is completely dry, I will start arranging how I want my pine cones, my cotton, and my jingle bells to go. And I will be using the little cords that come with the jingle bells to tie all the pieces together. So I'm going to start with this jingle, and that one has the little hole to run the little cord through, which that one is not hard to do. But then the next one is the cotton ball, and for that one I had to basically put some glue down and then glue the rope with the hot glue to be able to keep it in place. And I did the same thing for the pine cone, and then I just start tying them around my rope. Once I am done applying all my pieces to my garland, I will be creating a tassel, and it is pretty simple, so I'm just gonna let you watch what I'm doing. I made 2 of this, and then I just tie them to the ends of my garland. And this is how it turned out, and I love this. For this DIY, I will be using 3 of these squared frames that I found, and I'm removing everything because I'm going to spray paint them white. Once my frames are completely dry, I am going to find the middle on the 3 frames and make sure that they are marked in the middle. And then once I do that, I will be grabbing my drill and I will be creating 2 holes on each frame. Now I'm going to be grabbing the backs of the frames, and I will be using this burlap fabric that I already had on hand. But if you don't have this fabric, you could use the burlap ribbon that the Dollar Tree sells. And I'm just going to cut this and make sure I have enough to cover the whole thing. And I'm just gonna grab glue, hot glue, and start gluing this into place. To make sure that my fabric is not all bulky on the corners, I will be cutting those off and then gluing the rest of the fabric into place. Moving on, I'm going to start tracing my words on this ribbon. I already had this red and gold glittery ribbon, but the Dollar Tree does carry ribbon now, so you could grab one of those. And I traced these words on paper, and now I'm going to start tracing them on my ribbon. And the H is going to be red and the O is going to be gold. And now that I have all my letters traced, I'm going to start cutting them. Once I have all of them cut, I'm going to start gluing them on my little frame. Now I'm grabbing my frames that already have the glass on them, and I'm gonna put my pieces in there. I just have to push them down. They actually fit pretty well, and here are all my 3 pieces. They look beautiful already, but I want to make them even look better. So I'm going to be using these wooden beads in this cord, and to be able to run them through without the cord getting undone, I added a little bit of hot glue, and now I'm going to be using red and green beads to put in between my frames. This is what my frames are looking like. I love them already, but I am going to be adding tassels to the 2 sides, and I am just going to be creating a knot to make sure that my cord doesn't move around. So I made a pretty thick knot on there, and now I'm gonna move on to creating a tassel. That my tassel is completed, I decided to add a couple of beads to the end of it before adding my tassel, and I'm just going to be tying that into place. And here is how my little frames turned out. I love them so much. For this DIY, I'm going to be using popsicle sticks, and I'm going to start by grabbing 2 and putting them together and using a 3rd one to glue those 2 into place, and I'm going to be creating 12 of these. Once I have my 12 completed, I'm going to start creating 2 squares. So I'm just going to glue 4 and 4 together. Once I have my 2 squares, the remaining 4 are going to be what makes this into a cube. So I'm going to start gluing those down into the corners of one of the squares, and then I will be gluing the 2nd square on top of that. Now that my cube is completed, I will be using this super soft towel that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start gluing this at the bottom. So one of the edges of the longer side of the fabric, I'm going to glue that down, and that's going to be the bottom of it. Now I'm going to flip it over and glue down the top of it, and I'm going to be folding it in to make sure it fits, as you can see right there. Now I'm going to be using 2 of these little towels that I got, and I'm going to be gluing those down, and for the bottom I'm going to be doing the exact same thing I did earlier. All right, this little towel is a little too big, so I'm going to fold it in and I'm gonna glue that into place to make it a little shorter, because I want the folds to be in the middle so I can cover it with the ribbon. I'm adding extra glue at the bottom to make sure that my fabric is completely secure and is not going to try to come off when I start to pull on it. Okay, having to use two pieces of fabric to accomplish this was a little bit hard, I'm not going to lie, but I think I did a pretty okay job. I hope you get the idea of what I'm trying to go for, but definitely in the future, if I do this again, I would do it differently. But anyway, I'm trimming down the excess fabric to make it look slimmer and better, and I'm just now gluing down the edges, and the extra fabric is going on the top is going to get folded in and glue into place to make sure that it stays in the middle, and so it gets covered with the ribbon that I will be using to cover that up. This is what my furry present is looking like. Now that is going to get covered with this beautiful ribbon that I found. I'm going to use this to make it look like a present now. Now I'm going to be using this greenery to create a decoration piece to go at the very top. Now that my decoration piece is completed, I will be gluing that on top, and that completes this gift. For this DIY, I also created a cube using popsicle sticks, and I used this rope to tie around my gift, and I just wrapped it around until I was happy with it. I'm going to use this really pretty burlap ribbon I found to cover the popsicle sticks. I don't want to see the popsicle sticks, so I'm going to use that to cover that. And a side note, I didn't put ribbon on the side that is going to be the bottom of my gift. Now I'm creating a decoration piece for my little gift as well, and we'll be using this greenery and the tiny pine cones that I also found at the dollar store. now all is left is to add glue and sit it on top of my gift. And this is what both of my gifts looks like. I love how these ones turned out. For this super cute sleigh that I'm making, I will be using 2 of these red hooks, and I'm going to be bending the back, or what's going to be the back of my sleigh, and it's pretty easy to do. The material is very bendable. Now that I did that, I am going to grab my foam board and I'm going to measure how big I want this sleigh to be. Once I figure that out, I am going to start marking that on my foam board, and I decided I wanted this to be 15 inches long and 10 inches wide. Once I have the bottom of my sleigh marked, I will be cutting this foam board with my little knife. For the sides of my sleigh, they're going to be 15 inches long and 9 inches tall. Now that I have my rectangle 15 by 9, I am going to start making it look like an actual sleigh. So I'm gonna let you watch what I did to accomplish that. This is the shape that I gave my sleigh, and now it's time to cut it. And just so you know, for the triangle part, which is the front, I end up cutting like another inch off because I wanted the front to be shorter than the back. Now I am moving to cutting the front and the back rectangles, and for the back it was 10 by 9 inches tall and the front was 10 by 7 or 8 inches tall. And here is all my 5 pieces, and this is what it looks like now. Now it's time to start gluing, and for that I'm going to be using hot glue. Once I finish gluing all my pieces together, it's time to paint. And for that, I'm going to be using this red and black paint. I want to make a more maroon color, and so I'm gonna use these 2 paints that I already had, and they came from the Dollar Tree as well. Once I'm happy with the color, I'm going to start painting. I forgot to show this part, but I also created a future seat for my sleigh. So I am going to be using brown and black paint to create a darker brown color, and I'm going to paint that for my seat. Now I also created this half of circles that are going to be at the bottom of my sleigh, and I created 4 of them, and I traced them and cut them with my knife, and they also will be painted brown. Once the pieces for my seat are dry, I'm going to start gluing those into place, and I am going to lay one of them down and trace it with a pencil to help me figure out where the glue is going to go. And once I figure that out, I put the front part of my seat down, and then I am going to reinforce with some hot glue on the corners. Now that I have that down, I am going to add glue to my top of the bench or my seat, and I will be gluing that into place as well. And then I will be flipping that over once it's completely dry to add some glue at the bottom of this little seat as well, and reinforce and make sure it's not gonna go anywhere. Now it's time to glue all my pieces together. I have marked my hooks, the 15 inches wide that my sleigh is, to help me figure out where these half circles are going to go. Now that I figured that, I started gluing my half circles into place, and I added hot glue to reinforce. I also used these popsicle sticks that I cut into rectangles and glued them behind the half circles to help them stay maybe in place. I don't know, hopefully it works. But anyway, after I was done doing that, I also end up coloring the popsicle sticks the brown color with the leftover brown paint that I had. Now that my two bottom pieces are completed, I'm going to flip over my sleigh, and I'm going to grab these cubes that I already had on hand, and I'm going to start gluing them into place. Now that I have that glued down, I'm going to grab my pieces and put some hot glue on there and then glue them into place. Once the glue is completely dry, I will reinforce with some more glue, and there you have, my 4 pieces are completed, and it seemed to hold pretty well. Now I'm gonna grab my burlap ribbon, and I'm going to put that around the bottom of my sleigh. I wish I had more because I wanted to put more on the top, and I will be getting more to complete the look, but for the sake of the video, this is what I end up doing only. Now I'm going to be creating a bow with this burlap ribbon. Once my bow is completed, I will be adding some greenery, and then once I'm happy with that, I will be gluing that into the front of my sleigh. And here is the end result. I think it turned out really cute. Please let me know in the comments down below which one of these DIYs you liked the most. Please don't forget to subscribe and give my video a thumbs up, and I will see you on my next DIY. Bye!